An internal combustion engine vehicle is a type of vehicle that uses a combustion engine to power its wheels. This engine works by burning a fuel mixture, typically petrol or diesel, within a combustion chamber, creating kinetic energy that is then converted into motion. Key components are combustion engine, fuel tank, and the exhaust system. Its key characteristics are its fuel that we commonly refer to as fossil fuel, such as petrol or diesel. It is popularly known to emit smoke that contains CO2, a known contaminant to air pollution and climate change. Little is talked about the other byproduct that it emits, such as nitrogen oxide, which contribute to the formation of smog and acid rain. Nitrogen oxide also reacts with other compounds to create ground-level ozone, which can damage crops, forests, and marine ecosystems. Diesel engines especially emit particulate matter, which are tiny particles that can penetrate deep into the lungs, causing respiratory illness. Besides the popular carbon dioxide, lesser-known carbon monoxide is also released. Released hydrocarbons and volatile organic compounds contribute to the formation of ground-level ozone and photochemical smog, which are harmful to both ecosystems and human health. Diesel engines produces sulfur dioxide, a major component of acid rain. We know how acid rain can damage forests, aquatic ecosystems, and it can deplete soil nutrients, harming agriculture and humans. Finally, leaks or spills of oil, fuel, and other chemicals from internal combustion engine vehicles can contaminate water bodies and soil, leading to long-term environmental damage. The extraction and refining of fossil fuels is known to contribute to significant water pollution. How important is water to life? The problem of oil contaminating ground and river is especially common around internal combustion engine vehicle maintenance centers. This problem is alarming in developing countries with poor or inconsistent regulations. With advent of technology, internal combustion engines' range of travel are not much more than electric vehicles compared to 1900s. Advantage remains that internal combustion engine refueling is still much quicker than electric vehicles, and fuel stations infrastructure is mature in many parts of the world. It's an advantage to poor countries that have near non-existent fuel station infrastructure, especially in rural area. These countries can invest directly into electric energy sector and electric energy distribution infrastructure directly. The number of moving parts in an internal combustion engine vehicle ranges from the hundreds to around 2,000 moving parts, depending on the complexity of the engine make. A small two-stroke engine has fewer moving parts, but the number is still in the dozens. EV, on the other hand, has about 20 moving parts. This is main reason why EV requires less maintenance compared to an internal combustion engine. So why are EV more complex than internal combustion engine? Well, EVs are more complex than internal combustion engine vehicles due to its reliance on advanced technology, integration of software systems, and new infrastructure requirements. EVs depend on large, high-capacity batteries, which are far more complex than a traditional fuel tank. Managing battery life, energy density, charging rates, and safety requires advanced engineering and materials science. Unlike fuel, which can be stored and burned easily, batteries need sophisticated software systems to regulate temperature and charge and discharge cycles. Batteries require innovations to improve energy efficiency while reducing costs. While electric motors have fewer moving parts than internal combustion engines, their integration into the vehicle system is more intricate. Electric powertrains need to manage energy flow efficiently from the battery to the motor and then to the wheels, which involves complex electronic systems and power management. Basically, EV depends hugely on software to optimize energy use. Charging an EV is more complicated as your smartphone. There are different types of connectors used for EV charging today, but like smartphone, there are already adapter manufacturers that makes adapters that work with them all. EVs have a more complex electronic architecture, with multiple interconnected systems and components. This requires careful integration and management to ensure reliable and efficient operation. You can still add that boombox, amplifiers, LED, or other accessories. Some manufacturers already built in these extras into their system, providing plug-and-play capabilities. Accessorizing EV will likely be the next big supporting industry for EV. Many of today's EVs are designed with autonomous driving in mind, which introduces another level of complexity. These vehicles often include advanced driver assistance systems, sensor arrays, and machine learning algorithms that constantly analyze driving conditions, road safety, and traffic. These systems rely heavily on data and software. Even non-autonomous EVs are highly connected, with software controlling everything from the infotainment system to navigation, remote diagnostics, and over-the-air updates. As you might have already make out, EVs are tech companies. They are not the traditional car maker that we are accustomed to. Elon Musk said a decade or so back, EV makers are technology companies. They integrate software, AI, and data analytics to power their vehicles. Conventional automakers are mainly mechanical, while EV makers depend on battery technology, autonomous driving systems, and connected car infrastructure. Some years back, a BYD senior management said that EVs are battery companies. Actually, few EV makers are energy companies like BYD themselves. Tesla offers solar energy products and home battery systems that integrate with EVs. Some are deeply involved in the energy storage and energy management sectors, expanding their role beyond transportation. Huawei spokesperson said recently EV makers are software companies. Huawei does not produce EVs, but components of their software are widely used in Chinese-made EVs. One common principle all EV brands say is that EVs are sustainability leaders from the onset. Traditional automakers have only recently begun pivoting towards sustainability, while EV makers position themselves as environmental pioneers from the outset. They're part of a broader movement focused on carbon neutrality, renewable energy, and reducing emissions, playing a larger role in the sustainability economy rather than just being vehicle manufacturers. EV companies are also developing platform ecosystems similar to smartphone or tech platform developers. EV companies are more of a tech ecosystems than traditional internal combustion vehicle manufacturers. The EV space thrives on data collection and analysis, utilizing sensors, autonomous driving tech, and connected devices to gather insights. This makes them leaders in big data and AI applications, setting them apart from legacy automakers that have traditionally been more hardware-focused. EV companies sell vehicles online and offer direct-to-consumer models. They resemble tech product sales more than traditional car dealerships. The customer experience, from software updates to app-driven functionalities, feels closer to technology than transportation. EV companies are reimagining the transportation industry. EV companies develop mobility solutions, not just vehicles. The term automaker or carmaker doesn't capture any of above scope. As you might have already acknowledged by now, the supply chain for EVs is absolutely different from supply chain of internal combustion engine. It might look complicated due to the need for specialized materials, especially the batteries and softwares. Like petrol or diesel, these materials are not as readily available and supply chain disruptions can slow down production. Manufacturing processes are totally different. However, due to the more complex but compartmentalized nature of EV, manufacturers could opt to manufacture battery, electric power, software, and others, or decide to only focus on manufacturing specific components and offshore the rest to others. On positive side, this application will break down hegemony to component level, further drive down manufacturing cost as manufacturer can focus on one component only. The principle is similar to the microchip manufacturing industry that I covered in an earlier video. Downside of this method is also similar to the microchip industry. The supply chain becomes more intertwined and complex and requires collaboration between many players. More concerted effort in diplomacy is needed to keep the system run smoothly. The meaning behind "no man is an island" takes a new meaning in the EV industry. Many people think that electric cars is a recent innovation. However, they are very wrong, because electric cars existed very early. Well, it may come as a surprise to some. The electric automobile predates its gasoline-fueled counterpart by a significant margin, even before Henry Ford's Model T dominated the American roads. It is still unclear which maker mass-produced electric vehicles. Early mentions of electric vehicles spans from Scotland, through Europe to the US. As early as 1914, electric vehicles had stolen the limelight. However brief, is a fascinating testament to human ingenuity and technological innovation. So what happened? First and foremost was its limited range. Despite improvements in battery technology in early days, electric cars had to settle with limited range compared to gasoline cars. And there has been little innovation in the battery industry for almost 100 years since. Lack of charging infrastructure like today was a challenge even back then. The charging infrastructure was underdeveloped, making long journeys impractical. The infamous Henry Ford's mass production techniques significantly reduced the cost of gasoline-powered cars, making them more accessible to the general public. I am not entirely convinced of this theory since EVs have so much less moving parts compared to internal combustion engine vehicles. If this was true, electric public transportation and use of electric machineries in many industries should not even exist. Anyway, the early 20th century saw a surge in oil exploration, leading to the discovery of vast petroleum reserves, which reduced the price of gasoline. By the 1920s, gasoline-powered vehicles had become the dominant choice for consumers, and electric cars had all but disappeared from the mainstream market. For decades, electric vehicles remained on the fringes of the automotive industry. At the beginning of the 21st century, interest in electric and alternative fuel vehicles in private motor vehicles increased, due to growing concern over the problems associated with hydrocarbon-fueled vehicles, including damage to the environment caused by their emissions. The sustainability of the current hydrocarbon-based transportation infrastructure was questioned. There were already marked improvements in the electric technology. The electric motor had already seen much innovation for decades. Batteries were more durable and lasts longer. The computer science industry spearheading software development has seen much progress together with the microchip industry, so much that prices were decreasing. What is the role played by software in EV, and why is it so important? The software holds a pivotal role in electric vehicles, serving as the backbone for their operation. In the absence of complex mechanical systems or traditional engines, the software assumes responsibility for managing and operating the vehicle. Software plays an important role in making electric vehicles stable and functional. It controls the performance and behavior of electric vehicles. Software can optimize the performance of electric vehicles with optimal management of power usage and functionality. Once you switch over from traditional combustion vehicles to electric cars, one thing that you must do regularly is get the software updates. No worries, you don't have to visit service centers for the update. EV manufacturers push updates using over-the-air (OTA). Regular software updates are essential for your electric car to perform smoothly and provide you with the best driving experience on the roads. Software is the brain of an EV, governing everything from the basic operation of the battery to advanced autonomous features. Its importance will continue to grow as vehicles become more software-defined, with updates and digital features becoming as critical as mechanical components. It acts like the brain of the vehicle, responsible for its management and operation. In addition to this, the software also plays a key role in battery management, charging, diagnostics, connectivity, infotainment, body electronics, and cybersecurity. Software is used for active chassis controls, electric powertrain architectures, validation of autonomous driving and driver assistance (ADAS) algorithms, regenerative braking algorithms tuning, and optimization of vehicle performance, suspension design modifications, and hardware-in-the-loop (HIL) testing. Battery Management System (BMS) software manages battery performance, monitoring charge levels, temperature, and health to ensure optimal battery life and prevent issues like overcharging or overheating. It also helps balance the power output to enhance range and efficiency. Energy efficiency and range optimization software continuously calculates the most efficient use of energy, allowing the vehicle to maximize range. It manages regenerative braking, which converts kinetic energy back into battery charge, thus extending the driving range. Autonomous driving and driver assistance software enables advanced driver assistance systems and autonomous driving features. This includes functions like lane-keeping assistance, adaptive cruise control, and even fully autonomous driving modes, such as autopilot or full self-driving (FSD) system. Over-the-air (OTA) software can receive over-the-air software updates, meaning that manufacturers can push new features, bug fixes, and performance improvements directly to the vehicle. This can extend the life and capabilities of the vehicle without needing physical modifications. The infotainment system in EVs, such as touchscreen, is powered by software. It controls everything from navigation to entertainment, climate control, seat adjustment, steering height adjustment, and customization of vehicle settings, providing a modern, tech-forward user experience. Charging management software communicates with charging stations, manages charge rates, and helps optimize charging times. It can also locate nearby charging stations via integrated navigation systems and schedule charging when electricity rates are lower, contributing to cost efficiency. EVs are highly connected devices, offering cloud-based services, mobile app control, and real-time data on performance and maintenance. For example, drivers can use mobile apps to precondition their EV's cabin temperature, monitor charge levels, or start/stop charging remotely. Software enables critical safety functions such as collision detection, emergency braking, and parking assistance. These systems rely on real-time data from sensors, cameras, and radar to react quickly to potential dangers. EV's predictive maintenance software can monitor the vehicle's health and predict when certain components may need service. This reduces unplanned breakdowns and ensures the EV remains in optimal operating condition. The personalization software allows drivers to customize driving modes, adjust regenerative braking levels, or tailor suspension and steering preferences. It can also adjust settings based on different driver profiles, enhancing the driving experience. As cars become more connected, cybersecurity has become a growing concern. The development of secure software is essential to protect vehicles from hacking, data breaches, and other security threats. Developing software is now a critical operational requirement for electric vehicle (EV) manufacturing, as was Henry Ford's mass production techniques to the internal combustion engine vehicles manufacturing. As EV become increasingly complex and reliant on digital systems, software development plays a pivotal role in differentiating EV brands and improving the overall user experience. Software development is increasingly viewed as one of the key differentiators in a market that will continue to evolve and demand more advanced digital solutions. This key difference will be discussed in more detail in later chapter, why it is very likely we will see majority of traditional internal combustion engine vehicles manufacturers find it challenging in the EV manufacturing despite receiving financial assistance.
Many others have covered the EV sales trend topic extensively, so I will quickly go through the EV sales trend in past couple of years as a refresher. This sales trend topic is an prelude to the next topic that I personally find stimulating and promising to share, which is the future trend of EV making, drawing parallel to technology companies. So be sure to stick around. United States EV sales was up 385% since 2019 to 2022. In the same period, internal combustion engine vehicle sales was down 14%. Tesla controls a healthy 50% market share of EV sales in US. Tesla remains the market leader both in US and Europe today. Electric vehicle sales keep rising and could reach around 17 million in 2024, accounting for more than 1 in 5 cars sold worldwide. Electric vehicles continue to make progress towards becoming a mass-market product in a larger number of countries. Tight margins, volatile battery metal prices, high inflation, and the phase-out of purchase incentives in some countries have sparked concerns about the industry's pace of growth, but global sales data remains strong. EV sales hit 14 million across the globe in 2023. Share of EV has increased from 4% in 2020 to 18% in 2023. In the first quarter of 2024 alone, more than 3 million EVs were sold worldwide. This means electric vehicles sales grew by around 25% compared with the first quarter of 2023, similar to the year-on-year growth seen in the same period in 2022. Please note that vehicles in the context of sales figures, it means all types of motor vehicles sold, which generally include passenger cars like sedans, hatchbacks, and similar small cars. Light commercial vehicles, LCV, includes pickup trucks, vans, and SUVs designed for carrying goods, but often used for personal transportation as well. And heavy commercial vehicles like larger trucks and buses, though these often make up a smaller portion of overall vehicle sales. In the case of electric vehicles, EVs, the term EV sales typically refers to battery electric vehicles, BEV, but sometimes includes plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, depending on the data source. According to Bloomberg, in 2023, EVs accounted for about 7 to 8% of total vehicle sales in 2023 in the US, with 14 to 15 million new vehicles sold. Approximately 1 million were EVs. The growth was fueled by incentives from the Inflation Reduction Act and the launch of new models across multiple brands. California led EV adoption, making up around 20% of sales in the state, well above the national average. In 2023 Europe, 11 to 12 million new vehicles were sold across the region. EVs made up 20 to 25% of total vehicle sales in Europe, a region driven by aggressive carbon reduction targets and a ban on new internal combustion vehicle sales in some countries by 2035. Germany, the largest car market in Europe, saw EVs comprise more than 30% of new car registrations, while other countries like Norway continued leading with over 80% of new electric vehicle sales. Unsurprisingly, China was the largest EV market in 2023. Out of 25 to 26 million new vehicles sold, electric vehicles make up around 30% of total sales, translating to over 6 million units sold. The market grew substantially due to government incentives, growing infrastructure, and a range of affordable EV options from domestic manufacturers like BYD and NIO. Newly registered 25 to 26 million new vehicles were sold in 2023. In summary, majority of EV sales in 2023 was in China, 30%, Europe, 25%, and the United States, 10%. These three regions accounted for around 65% of total car sales worldwide, showing that sales of electric models remain more geographically concentrated than those of conventional ones. While EV sales in emerging economies have been lagging, growth picked up in 2023 in countries such as Vietnam, around 15% of all cars sold, and Thailand, 10%. In emerging economies with large car markets, shares are still relatively low, but several factors point to future growth. Policy measures such as purchase subsidies and incentives for electric vehicle, EV, and battery manufacturing are playing a key role. In India, where electric vehicles have a 2% market share, the Production-Linked Incentives (PLI) scheme is supporting domestic manufacturing. In Brazil, 3% share, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, 2% share each, and models are mainly of Chinese brands. In Mexico, EV supply chains are rapidly developing, stimulated by access to subsidies from the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, IRA. In 2024, EV adoption is expected to further accelerate in the US, Europe, and China, but internal combustion engine, ICE, vehicles are still expected to dominate overall sales, especially in US and Europe. In US, EVs are predicted to expand to roughly 11% of total vehicle sales, and are projected to continue rise driven by new models and incentives. In Europe, EVs are predicted to expand to roughly 25% of total vehicle sales. China will continue to dominate the world in EV sales, and could reach up to 45% of total sales in China. As recently as May 2024, US EV makers began leasing EVs. While the numbers are not released, I suspect EV sales could pass the 11% of total vehicle sales predicted by experts earlier. Leasing is basically a long-term rental that you don't have to worry about reselling later. When I say long-term here, 2 to 3 years is a typical period. Once you've finished your term, you return the vehicle back in. Leasing is a perfect solution for urban driving due to low miles requirement. Besides, if you are a technology geek, you can opt for shorter lease periods to give you the opportunity to try latest EV launches. Concept of leasing is perfect if you want to be seen in a luxury EV. Leasing is the perfect way to introduce EV to the reluctant segment of population, without them having to burn a hole in their pockets. For makers, leasing is a great way to move metal, which means get more cars off lots. While leases made up only about 23% of overall retail new vehicle sales in May 2024, they were about 35% of total EV purchases. How long can this last though? Since naturally the second-hand market will be flooded with EVs pushing prices down. Personally, this is the best advertising marketing money EV makers can spend on to get those reluctant segment of population to give EV a go and grow the EV segment. Many piston heads, like myself, are still not favorable of transitioning to EV. Have to admit though, that I will likely lease an EV if the option is available where I reside. Let's face it, like stick-shift generation, piston head generation is shrinking and being replaced by a tech-savvy generation who are conscious of environment, health and well-being for their future children. I do wish that more transparency is given to the extraction, processing and manufacturing of EVs that was near to non-existent for legacy car makers. And what about plans for all the used batteries? Hate to see them ending up in landfills. We will look into this further in later part of this video. Whatever said, globally, the transition from internal combustion engine vehicles to EVs will continue to accelerate. We are at a point of no return. Expectations of strong growth are bolstering investment in the EV supply chain. Reports show that from 2022 to 2023, investment announcements in EV and battery manufacturing totaled almost $500 billion. Over 20 major car manufacturers, representing more than 90% of global car sales in 2023, have set electrification targets. Electric vehicles are getting cheaper as competition intensifies, but they remain more expensive than cars with internal combustion engines in other markets. A rapid transition to EVs will require bringing to market more affordable models. In China, more than 50% of electric vehicles sold in 2023 were cheaper than their average combustion engine equivalent. However, electric vehicles remain mostly 10% to 50% more expensive than combustion engine equivalents in Europe and the United States. In 2023, two-thirds of available electric models globally were large cars, pickup trucks, or sports utility vehicles, pushing up average prices. When exactly price parity is reached is subject to a range of market variables, but current trends suggest that it could be reached by 2030 in major EV markets outside China for most models. The subject of price parity plays a very important role in my personal favorite next topic, which is the future of EV.
Given the shift towards software and battery technology, more new players from technology, electronics, and energy industries are expected to enter the EV industry. The industry's lower mechanical complexity, combined with the focus on software, battery, and innovations, creates opportunities for companies outside the traditional or legacy car sector to enter. Tech companies already have the right staff expertise from computer science and the electronics industry. However, scaling production and competing with established brands will still require significant investment and innovation. This is where incremental modular design and open-source concept helps. Let me quickly introduce you to what is incremental modular design and its advantages. Incremental modular design is a development approach that breaks down large projects into smaller, independent modules. The modular approach in electric vehicle (EV) development is similar to a Lego set. Just as Lego bricks can be combined in countless ways to create different structures, modular platforms allow builders to mix and match components to create a variety of vehicle models. Modular platforms provide a foundation that can be adapted and expanded to meet the evolving needs of the EV market. EV builders can choose from a wider range of options and can offer various configurations and customizations based on the modular platform configuration to customers. Each module can be developed and tested separately, then integrated into the larger system. Modular designs allow for easier changes and updates. Individual modules can be modified, replaced, or added without affecting the entire system. This makes it easier to adapt to changing requirements or introduce new features. By breaking down a complex system into smaller, manageable modules, it becomes easier to identify and isolate potential problems. This reduces the risk of system-wide failures and makes it easier to troubleshoot and fix issues. Modules can often be reused in different projects or contexts, saving time and effort. This is especially beneficial in large-scale projects with multiple components. Different teams can work on different modules simultaneously in isolation, accelerating development time and increasing efficiency. Modular designs can be easily scaled up or down to meet changing demands. This is particularly useful in systems that need to grow over time. Modular designs are generally easier to maintain and update, as changes can be made to specific modules without affecting the entire system. Individual modules can be tested independently, making it easier to identify and fix bugs before they impact the entire system. In short, incremental modular design is a systematic approach to building complex systems that prioritizes flexibility, efficiency, collaboration, and maintainability. The fragmentation of the EV industry, similar to what happened in the computer, home appliances, devices, and semiconductor industry, could accelerate with the emergence of a varied incremental modular design providers. EV manufacturing is evolving so rapidly, and the modular approach, whether to consolidate into an EV build for software, batteries, or other components, makes it even more dynamic and complex. The good thing is that this opens up opportunities for more players and innovation in the industry. This approach provides a scalability and flexibility to mix and match different modular subsystems to create a tailored EV without developing each component from scratch, lowering costs significantly. There are many subset modular platforms within electric vehicle (EV) building, each focusing on specific components like software, batteries, charging platforms, and electric drivetrain. These subset platforms are designed to improve flexibility, scalability, reduce costs, and enhance efficiency within specialized areas of EV production. There is the modular software platforms, modular battery platforms, modular electric drivetrain platforms, and modular charging platforms. Of course, there can be a third layer of modular platforms for each of above second layer modular platforms. This video will focus on the main modular platform to build EV and a second layer modular platforms to build software. You should get the gist of EV modular platform approach by then and apply same for the other modular platforms. Many new entrants could still emerge in the EV industry from using scalable open source EV modular platforms. MIH from Foxconn in Taiwan, Electric Vehicle Platform, EVP, by Geely and Volvo, are examples of modular platform providers designed for electric and hybrid vehicles. These platforms allow new entrants to the EV market to use a standardized platform for EV manufacturing and assembly, reducing development costs, risks, and without needing to develop proprietary technology for batteries, powertrains, or software. Examples of open-source platforms or frameworks in other technology-related industries include Raspberry Pi, which is a popular open-source single-board computer platform widely used in the consumer electronics industry, or Android Open Source Project, AOSP, widely used in the mobile operating system industry. AOSP provides the core components of the Android operating system that manufacturers can use to customize and create their own unique versions of Android. Smartwatches or fitness trackers, connecting home devices through IoT, are just some examples of consumer products created and powered by Raspberry Pi and AOSP use. Open source and/or modular platforms can be used to lower the barrier of entry, foster innovation, and accelerate development in various industries. The possibilities are endless, limited only by your imagination and creativity. New players can use modular EV manufacturing service providers to design vehicles, shorten the development time by outsourcing the assembly of core components. When price parity is reached, more new players will be encouraged to use these platforms to build customized EVs. If not mistaken, there are already about 6 open-source modular platforms today in various stages of development. The bigger player are MIH, EVP, SEA, EGMP, MEB, EVA. While all these EV modular platforms share a common goal, there are some key differences. For example, MIH platform emphasizes more on open source and customizable approach, while EVP focuses on standardized components and scalability. Since EVP was developed by Geely and Volvo, their platforms will naturally accommodate Geely and Volvo proprietary components. The choice to choose between them depend on factors such as the specific needs of EV entrant, their existing partnerships, and their priorities in terms of customization, scalability, and open source collaboration. Modular or open source platforms are a boon for developing countries to develop their own EV industries. Developing countries can utilize modular platforms like MIH, EVP, or others to create their own EV brands. Some developing countries are already exploring modular platforms. Several Indian automakers are exploring the use of modular platforms to accelerate their EV development and compete in this growing market. The Indonesian government has been actively promoting the adoption of EVs and is encouraging local manufacturers to leverage modular platforms. Thai automotive companies are also exploring the use of modular platforms to develop their own EV models and capture a share of the regional market. By leveraging modular platforms, developing countries can rapidly establish their presence in the global EV market, reduce their reliance on foreign technology, and contribute to a more sustainable future. Let's go through again the benefits of using EV modular and/or open source platforms again. 1. Reduce development time and costs. Modular platforms provide a solid foundation, significantly reducing the time it takes to develop and launch new EV models. By leveraging standardized components and technologies, manufacturers can reduce development and production costs. 2. Access to cutting-edge technology. These platforms often incorporate the latest advancements in EV technology, allowing developing countries to access cutting-edge solutions without starting from scratch. 3. Scalability and customization. Modular platforms allow for customization, enabling manufacturers to tailor vehicles to specific market needs and preferences. The modular design facilitates scaling up production as demand increases, ensuring efficient manufacturing. 4. Collaboration and knowledge sharing. As I stated earlier, many of these platforms are open source, fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing among industry players. This can accelerate innovation and problem solving. 5. Attracting investments. Modular platforms mitigates risks associated with EV development, making it more attractive for investors to support new EV brands. Choosing which platform to use depends on the specific needs and requirements of EV entrant, their existing partnerships, and their priorities in terms of customization, scalability, and open source collaboration. Careful considerations must be taken by developing countries' EV brand entrants before selecting an EV platform that is best suited to their specific needs and goals. It's essential to conduct thorough research and evaluate multiple options before making a decision. For example, the platform should be compatible with the country's existing infrastructure, such as charging stations and power grids. The platform should comply with local regulations and standards related to EVs. The platform should offer a cost-effective solution for developing EVs, especially for countries with limited resources. The platform should enable efficient production, reducing costs, and improving profitability. The platform should be scalable to accommodate increasing demand for EVs in the future. The platform should be flexible to allow for integration and customization to meet the specific needs and preferences of the local market. The platform should provide clear ownership rights and intellectual property protection. The platform should facilitate technology transfer and knowledge sharing to support domestic development. Geopolitical considerations must be taken into consideration, for example, possible future sanctions for whatever reason, currency fluctuations, trade agreements, and others. The platform should be aligned with government policies, incentives, and regulations that promote EV adoption. The platform should encourage collaboration between government agencies, industry players, and research institutions. The platform should, of course, be compatible with local suppliers of components and materials, supporting domestic industries. The platform should already have a well-established access to reliable global supply chain for essential components. These are some common considerations that I found from researching. Pretty sure a pool of experts and stakeholders from local countries will have more geared towards local policies, norms, taking national interest into consideration. Let's move on to the next subject that is the core component of the EV, which is the battery. Companies like BYD or CATL are current world's largest battery manufacturers. They are similar to SMIC, TSMC, and handful other important global chip manufacturers. These are the go-to supplier for EV batteries. EV makers can rely on EV battery manufacturers to supply batteries at scale. Companies dedicated in making EV batteries can develop deep expertise in battery technology, material science, and manufacturing processes. This specialization and competitiveness between battery manufacturers can lead to advancements in battery performance, efficiency, and cost-effectiveness. They likely will be joined by new entrant battery producers in the future. EV makers are able to focus on other areas of EV making, like designing screens, sensors, and other products needed in EV, or developing software, while outsourcing battery production. In the semiconductor industry, companies like Cadence, ARM, and others provide the design tools and IP to fabless companies that design chips such as NVIDIA and AMD. Similarly, there are already companies like Automotive Grade Linux, AGL, Genivai, and others who provide modular platforms specific to design and developing software for EVs. These companies could establish dominance by providing standardized modular platform for entrants to design and develop software for autonomous driving, battery management software, vehicle control systems, infotainment, and more for EVs. This modular platform approach is similar to the EV modular platform, but in smaller scale, focusing only on EV software needs. The integration of chips into EVs is getting more advanced, with centralized computing becoming a trend, similar to how chip companies integrate multiple functions onto a single chip to improve efficiency. New entrants are able to focus expertise on selective software modules and provide as a single application solution through chip. We can also expect more modular platforms for EV software to be developed as the EV industry matures and nears price parity in future. More companies specializing in charging networks or energy management could become major players in the growth of EV market in local countries. In internal combustion vehicles, this industry is dominated by energy giants like Shell, BP, Petronas. These giants dominate the energy industry and are involved in the entire energy value chain, from sourcing energy to distributing it. In EV industry, the single source of energy as used in internal combustion vehicles no longer exists, since electricity can be generated by different players like nuclear power plants, dams, coal, or fossil fuels. These different sources can be maintained by different players. The charging networks operators will be specialists in provide charging infrastructure as a service to EV users. Much like how the computer industry utilizes modular design to integrate various components, e.g. GPUs, CPUs, motherboard, cooling fans, memory chips, and others, the EV industry will use similar approach using modular platforms in which different players design and contribute specific elements. In summary, the EV industry, like other technology-related industries, is becoming a collaborative ecosystem where EV builders, battery manufacturers, software developers, semiconductor companies, device manufacturers all collaborate and play a role in creating the final product. Collaboration and partnering between these different players becomes extremely critical. Now, add the global supply chain into the mix. In the EV industry, rare materials for batteries are mined in country A, lithium from Chile, processed in country B, China, and then assembled into EV in country C, Indonesia. This mirrors how semiconductors industry works today. A global web with zero room for homogeneous or unipolar hegemony. This is an ecosystem still in its infancy stage, and many opportunities exists. While the core legacy internal combustion engine players will slowly go out of business, other vehicle supporting companies such as tires, bearings, suspension, wiper, seats, paintwork, and all will continue to exist. Welcome to the age of EV.
The transformation from traditional, mechanically focused automotive manufacturing to a software-driven industry is critical for traditional automakers to stay relevant in the EV market. The shift to electric vehicles, EVs, means that traditional automakers will need to rethink their foundational skills and expertise. Historically, car manufacturing has been heavily reliant on mechanical engineering, but the rise of EVs and the growing importance of software means automakers must shift focus on computer science, software engineering, and data analytics. This shift will require extensive investment in retraining, hiring from the tech sector, and fostering a culture of innovation to stay competitive in the future of mobility. Traditional automakers that fail to make this transition risk being left behind, much like how Nokia and Kodak failed to adapt to technological disruptions in their industries. EVs are evolving into software-defined vehicles where many functions, such as energy management, battery control, autonomous driving, and infotainment, are driven by complex software systems. As a result, automakers need to develop in-house software capabilities or partner with tech companies. This is a radical shift for traditional car manufacturers, who are used to focusing on hardware. The move towards autonomous driving requires automakers to invest in AI, machine learning, and sensor fusion technologies. Companies need software engineers to develop these capabilities, which are fundamental to the future of mobility. For example, Tesla has built its brand around its autonomous driving software, while other automakers are working hard to catch up. OTA, or over-the-air updates, allow manufacturers to continuously improve vehicles' post-sale services by delivering new features, bug fixes, and performance upgrades through software. This means carmakers must shift from a one-time product mentality to an ongoing service model, which requires software development and cybersecurity experts. As EVs become more connected, manufacturers need engineers with skills in cloud computing, data science, and cybersecurity to manage real-time data from vehicles, ensure secure communications, and enable services like remote diagnostics, predictive maintenance, and fleet management. While mechanical engineers will continue to play a role in vehicle design, they will increasingly collaborate with computer scientists, software engineers, and data specialists. This multidisciplinary approach is critical to creating advanced EVs that are not just functional but intelligent and adaptive to the digital world. Traditional automakers like Ford, General Motors, and Volkswagen are already shifting their focus by hiring software engineers and creating internal tech hubs. They are transitioning to more agile, tech-driven development processes to remain competitive with tech companies like Tesla, BYD, Chery, Geely, Rivian, Lucid Motors, and many more. Some traditional automakers are acquiring or partnering with software and AI companies to fast-track their transformation. For example, Volkswagen is working on creating its own operating system called VW.OS, while Ford is partnering with Google to enhance its connected vehicle services. Suspect that for many traditional automakers, the transition from mechanical to software-driven vehicle manufacturing would feel like setting up an entirely new business from its CEO level. This transition isn't just about integrating a few software systems, it's a fundamental shift in how vehicles are designed, built, and maintained. Let us look at some of the key challenges. For traditional automakers, the transition to EV and software-centric vehicles is indeed like setting up a new business. The combination of high financial stakes, new skill requirements, cultural shifts, and competition from tech giants will make this a mammoth task, almost an impossible journey worth taking. However, those that successfully make the transition could stand to redefine their industry, write history, and thrive in the future of mobility. Automakers that have spent decades perfecting internal combustion engine vehicles must now shift to a tech-driven mindset. This requires moving from a hardware-first mentality to a more agile, software-focused approach, which is a drastic cultural change. Traditional automakers often lack the in-house expertise in areas like software development, AI, machine learning, cloud computing, and cybersecurity. They will need to build these capabilities from scratch or make major acquisitions. Finding and integrating tech talent into a traditionally mechanical engineering-focused workforce will take time. Developing proprietary software, creating connected ecosystems, and launching over-the-air (OTA) platforms require massive upfront investment. Many companies will struggle to find the balance between maintaining their existing business while also investing heavily in EV software development. It's a financial strain akin to launching a new business unit entirely. As vehicles become more connected devices, the traditional one-time sale model evolves into a service-based, recurring revenue model. This requires automakers to adopt new strategies like subscription-based software services, which could feel like a completely foreign approach for legacy carmakers. Companies like Tesla, BYD, Xiaomi, Rivian, Lucid Motors, and others, who were born in the digital age, have the upper hand in terms of software development. Legacy automakers will need to compete not just with other carmakers but also with tech companies that have deep expertise in software and user experience. This puts companies that have traditionally thrived on mechanical innovation at a humongous disadvantage. Perhaps the single most important challenge is time. The rapid pace at which software innovations happen, compared to the long lead times typical in automotive production, can make it difficult for legacy automakers to catch up. The automotive industry has historically been slow-moving, but software development cycles are fast, and falling behind can be devastating. This could lead to a Nokia or Kodak moment, where companies that fail to adapt quickly, I meant really quickly, will be left behind indefinitely. For instance, Nokia dominated the mobile phone market but struggled when smartphones required more emphasis on software. Similarly, Kodak failed to transition to digital photography despite leading in film. Traditional automakers that fail to embrace this software revolution quick enough may face similar fates.
So what happens to used EV batteries? I am sure many of us wonder what happens to used EV batteries. Many believe that these batteries end up in landfills. In following section, we will look at how used EV batteries are planned to be managed. It is evident that lithium-ion batteries can pose environmental risks due to the presence of toxic materials. Poorly managed disposal could lead to leaching of harmful substances into the environment, contributing to soil and water contamination if not recycled. Little known to public is that EV makers have introduced the concept of a closed-loop system or circular economy for batteries, meaning that the materials inside batteries can be reused multiple times, instead of being discarded. Some governments are ensuring that both battery and EV makers are implementing systems to ensure that batteries are tracked, reused, and/or recycled effectively. We will understand more later why tracking these batteries is important to ensure batteries' usage are managed correctly, with little to no impact to our environment. As economies of scale kicks in, the EV ecosystem will become increasingly resource efficient, helping to mitigate climate change and reduce environmental degradation. More benefits can be realized with more investments in recycling infrastructure, repurposing, and battery innovations, but for these investments to be forthcoming, more EVs need to be on the road. Yes, more EVs on the road can lead to positive impact to environmental over time. By end of this section, you will understand more of this very bold statement. EV batteries can be recycled to recover valuable materials like lithium, cobalt, nickel, and copper. These materials can then be reused in the production of new batteries. Although battery recycling is still in its early stages, and the infrastructure to handle large volumes of used EV batteries is not yet widespread, it's growing thanks to governments implementing regulations. As more EV batteries reach the end of life and are recycled, the supply of recycled raw materials from recycled batteries could reduce the need for fresh mining in future. What this means is that the more EV there are, economies of scale will kick in, and the EV ecosystem will become increasingly resource efficient, helping to mitigate climate change and reduce environmental degradation through circular economy. Recycling EV batteries requires specialized equipment and facilities, which can be expensive to set up and maintain. Let us not forget the labor costs involved in disassembling batteries, extracting materials, and processing them can be significant and added back to cost of EV. The efficiency or profit from material recovery can only increase with larger volumes of batteries, leading to higher yields and lower costs. Larger recycling facilities may have more bargaining power when negotiating with battery manufacturers and suppliers, potentially leading to better deals on materials and equipment. The downside of this advantage to big players, however, is that it will hinder smaller player entrance into this industry. As battery recycling scales up and becomes more efficient, it helps create a successful circular economy. This closed-loop system, or circular economy, could help decrease reliance on environmentally and socially harmful mining practices, such as those seen today in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where a large share of the world's cobalt is mined, under inhumane labor conditions. If recycling infrastructure continues to scale, this could help reduce dependency on mining which have limited supplies and are environmentally damaging to extract using current aged methods. It is very important to note that recycling alone is not a complete solution. The demand for electric vehicles is increasing rapidly, and the supply of materials needed for their batteries may likely outpace recycling efforts. Therefore, it's crucial to continue exploring sustainable mining practices and developing new battery technologies that reduce reliance on scarce materials. Research and advancements in battery technology, in its chemistry, can help reduce the reliance on cobalt and other scarce and harmful materials. Companies are developing new batteries, such as lithium iron phosphate, LFP, which contain fewer rare metals, and solid-state batteries that are more energy-dense and less resource-intensive. This will further reduce the need for mining. Use of sodium-ion batteries, which is abundant and less prone to certain types of thermal runaway reactions, was shared with promising results. The key drawback of sodium-ion technology was its lower energy density, meaning less mileage. Chinese battery makers have shared promising results lately that they have successfully addressed this shortcoming. Of course, improving battery longevity could also reduce the frequency with which batteries need to be replaced, lowering the demand for new materials. Longer-lasting batteries will delay the need for immediate large-scale recycling investment and reduce the overall consumption of raw materials over time. EV batteries often retain 70 to 80% of their capacity. These batteries can be repurposed for second life applications after their initial use in electric vehicles. This is a growing area of interest as the number of used EV batteries increases. Potential second life applications includes repurposing EV batteries as stationary energy storage, such as providing backup power for homes or businesses. These storages can help to stabilize the electrical grid and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. EV batteries can be repurposed to be used to store excess energy from renewable sources like solar and wind power, helping to balance supply and demand on the grid. Used EV batteries can be repurposed to be used to power industrial equipment, such as forklifts, cranes, and factory machinery. EV batteries can be repurposed to be used to provide power in remote or off-grid locations, such as for camping or emergency response. It is important to note that the performance of used EV batteries may be degraded at differing levels depending on its past usage. Factors such as the number of charging cycles, storage conditions, and manufacturing quality can affect the remaining capacity and lifespan of the battery. Therefore, careful evaluation and testing are necessary to determine the suitability of a used EV battery for a particular application. Monitoring their performance, state of health, and remaining capacity over time is needed to make a methodical evaluation. A solid reason why these batteries must be tracked, together with its usage information. Battery management systems software in EVs already collects data on battery parameters, such as voltage, temperature, charging cycles, and state of charge. This data can be used to assess battery health and predict its remaining lifespan. Governments and EV makers must make it mandatory that batteries and their use data is stored to be used later until the battery is finally recycled. We can use data from battery tracking to improve battery management strategies and extend its lifespan the fullest possible. We can quickly determine which battery is suitable for repurposing or recycling based on their remaining capacity and condition. If the battery is determined to be still suitable for repurpose, we can match the battery with appropriate applications based on its historical performance characteristics methodically. It can easily be determined if the battery is better used for forklift, cranes, or even for which type of storage purpose quickly. Blockchain can be used to create a secure and transparent record of a battery's history, including its usage, maintenance, and performance data. This can help to ensure the accuracy and integrity of battery tracking information. As the EV market continues to grow and remains competitive as it is today, it is very likely that we will continue to see more innovative and efficient ways to repurpose and reuse these valuable assets. In the long term, a combination of efficient battery recycling, advancements in battery technology, and second life applications could significantly reduce the need for mining raw materials, like lithium, cobalt, and nickel needed to manufacture batteries in the future. However, in the near term, mining will still play a critical role in supporting the rapid growth of the EV industry. The combination of zero-emission EVs, improved recycling processes, second life battery applications, and the decreasing need for raw material mining will lead to significant environmental benefits in the long run.